So hello everyone, and welcome back to the NextTS root course. Today we are in the class 13 where we are going to create an update customer component. If you don't have the link for this course, just grab it in the description here down below. All the code base of this course is stored in GitHub, and each of the branches, the classes I divided through branches. So each of the class it is represented by a single branch. So for the case of the class 13 that we are today, we have a total dedicated branch for the class 13. And let's go directly to that class. Just remember that this video and this course is sponsored by Xing, the most and the best, the most amazing company of the world to find remote jobs, with a great atmosphere that you cannot find anywhere. If you want to know more of Xing, grab the link here down in the description. And let's go directly to the code today. And today we basically, in the last class, we basically created the hooks. And today, now, the first thing that we are going to do is, first of all, it is that we created a form for creating a new user. And basically, the update, for update a new user, it will be the same form. I just need to grab the information that I already have related to the user, and then I just need to update this. It is just this. So I can use the same form. But if we take a look, if we go to the create component here, we will see basically that there is a huge form here in the create component. We could create a new component under the component folders that summarizes all this form, and then this component could be used for the create page and also for the update page. So we reduce the amount of code, we reduce the boilerplate of code in our project, we refactor everything, and everything will look more clear and refactor it. So one of the things that we need to do here is just create a new file under the components folder, name it form.tsx, which is going to be our new component. And basically what we need to do now is start creating our component. And what we are going to do, I'm going to import the dependencies here, so you guys don't need to import. So also I'm going to import the iProps. So I will import the dependencies here, and the next thing that we are going to do is create the interface for this, which it will represent the props of our component. So will be iProps, and then in this component basically will be the component that will be used for creating a new customer and also updating a new customer. So the props are basically as React works through composition, and also you can pass props, which are properties, objects from components to components, from parent components to children components. We are basically, in this case, we need to pass the default values. For example, if I need the customer, the form without nothing, I want to create a new user, so I just need to start a new form without any information. But if I want to update a user, I already have an information about that user, so I will start a form with a predefined information filled in the form. So I will need a default value, and also at the same time I will need a callback function that will be called when I submit the form. This way I can call the submit action for creating a user, and also the submit action for updating a user basically. So we are going to create a new function called submit form callback, and basically it will be this will receive a submit form, which is the data that I'm trying to submit, whatever if it is creating, and this will return void because I don't want to return nothing. And then default data, default values, basically values that is a like customer, and also as well new, because it can be new in the case we are creating a new user. And then I'm going to start my functional component, which will be form. This will receive props of iProps that I just have created, and then this will return a JSX element for me. Okay, everything's okay here. I will put the first thing that I will put here will be the return, which is the JSX part of the component, and we will do a single div here just for starting the component. But the first thing that we need to do here is getting the props. So it will be like this. It will be submit. We are going to just get those guys here, submit callback and default values from props. So we have our props, and then we just need to do this. Remember that we use a React form, that we got those guys here, handle submit, and then register, and then errors that we basically can get from use form, that will be represented by this guy here. And then we can, and now using the form, we can put also default values. So there will be our default values that we injected in the component as props. So okay, everything is fine here. And then I will put const on submit form, which is the function that will be called when we submit the form, and it will be called handle submit. Basically, it will be async because it's a synchronous function. This will receive form data, which is the data that I trying to submit, which is of the type iCustomer. And then I will put the body of the function here, which you will basically just call the callback, passing the data that I want to submit. Because why I'm doing this, because this component will be used for creating and for updating an user. And for example, as I have a hooks for updating and another hook for creating, I just need to send the callback that my create component page will deal with that information and call the create hook. And at the same time, the update page will use the same form component, but we'll take this form when the user submits the form, and the update page gets the information. The update page will basically only call the hooks, doing the same thing basically. So here everything is quite clear. I'm just run npm link again, just for you guys don't forget. Of course, we can format our code through the IDE shortcut, but we are always going to do this for you guys to remember. And basically what we are going to do is we are going to go to create here and copy all the form that we have created in the last classes. We don't need to create this again, it's just copying and pasting. So but just one thing that we need to do, it is very dirty formatted. So npm run linked again for formatting this to us, so everything will be formatted here. And then we just need to change a little bit of things. This guy here I would change here, because here is the unsubmit trigger of this form that will call this guy here, that consequently will call the submit form callback, which is the props of the function. Okay, and then another thing that I need to change here will be I also need to put here down below, I need to put here on the bottom, as I'm going to use that component for both creating and for both deleting. I would need to change this here. I will put default values. If default values exists, it means that we are trying to update a new existing user. So we basically, what we are going to do, this is the button for submitting. If the default value exists, we basically, it is equal news, which means that the user you are trying to create a new user. The button test will be shown as create, otherwise will be shown as added. So that's the only thing that we need to change basically here. Everything's okay. And then I just need to export default form. What we are going to do now here, basically we are going to run the project npm run linked, just to check if everything is going okay. But before doing this, we are going to before reloading here the component, we are going back to our code here, and we are going to the create page where we had the form, but now we are going to refactor this as we created a form. So the only thing that we need to do here, we just need to delete this guy here, the guy that we just copied, And what we need to do is to invoke the form component that we have created some minutes ago. It have import, I don't know if it have imported. Okay, it's missing the properties that we are going to put now. So the default values will be new because this is the create component, so we don't need default values. And submit form callback will be this guy here. Remember this guy here on submit, but let's rename this guy here to submit submit callback. Let's rename this to this, and then we are just going to do this here. Okay, everything's okay. And another thing that we need to do on submit callback, okay. But one of the things that we need to refactor, actually we were using the React hooks form. Here we are not going to use this anymore because this was switched to the new component. So I will take out those guys here. I don't need those guys anymore, and I don't need this guy too that I was using. This one I just need the only thing that I can do is just delete this first part here, and then everything's okay, everything's good to go. And also delete this guy here. Look, everything's beautiful and clear, and everything's okay with my component, my create component here. Look, everything's okay. And then I was not running it, but now I will run it again. npm run dev. And while we wait because it takes a little bit of time for running the application, we are going to create a new file here under the pages, customer, and ID that is called update. It haven't created for me. Okay, I will try it again. It will be a new file here, update.tsx. Okay, we have our update in .tsx, and this is where we are going to define our update component. So that's the guy. It was compiled successfully. One of the things I would, just for compiled application, I will need to delete this file because it will retrieve an error for us. No, it won't. So everything's okay. This is working. And as I refactor the create component, one of the things that I need to make sure is that it is working after I refactor it. So I will just change to this new page. I will put some information here, and I will try to create this again. I will create, and if I hit the button create, we can see that the data is now into the table. So our refactor was everything fine with our refactor. And now what we need to jump off is for the update component. And remember that the update component page will be created under pages, customer, the square brackets, open square brackets, ID, and close square brackets, update.tsx file. And then what we are going to do basically here, we are going to I'm going to copy all the dependencies because we don't want to keep writing the dependencies all the time. It was just in the beginning of the course just for you guys getting used to. And now we are going to create our function update. That this will receive, it will not receive any kind of props, and they return a JSX element. And then I will put already export default update. And then what I'm going to do here basically it is I will first create the return part, like all the components we need to do this. So I will already create this. I will create first a single div here just to don't let this empty. And now what we are going to do here is basically, first of all, we are going to put the const error message. This is the error message that appears on the bottom down on the bottom of the form. It is the error that basically when we send the request for updating the user, and for some reason this returns an error. So set error message, and this will be use state. We are using the on state of the component of the React hooks that is it is native from React. And then we are going to define our router. use the router. Why? Remember that we use the router just for switching when we successfully update a user. We don't want to keep the user in the form page. We just we want to change the user, to send the user to the index page of the application. So that's why we are using router to switch between the pages that we have. So it will be const ID. This ID I'm getting from the URL, because when I'm trying to update a new user, basically the URL that will be on the browser will be this one, localhost 3000, and then customers, and then the ID, and for example an update. That's why I'm trying to get this ID of the user, because I would need, before using the component that we just have refactored, the form component, we first need to do a get request on a single customer, just for getting the information for filling the form with the default information that we have from this customer. So it will be ID router dot query. And another thing that I'm going to do now is const data and error from, remember that we created in the last class the hooks use customer, the same one that we were using for getting for the customer single customer page. We basically are using this again, and we are doing a typecast to string, because in the URL, when we use a router query, it basically casts this to number. We need to cast back to a string again. And then there will be a const again, customer, that will be I customer, and this will be data as I customer. Why I need to do as I customer? Because when I use this, basically it don't knows, the React doesn't know if I'm really returning an I customer. That's why I need to do data as I customer. Okay, and then now I will need to put, if there's some kind of error that I get from this hook that I have created, I will return a div reading fail to load. Okay, we finalized this, and then finally the function for on submit callback, that will be the same function that we created for the guy, for the create method, but now we are for updating the customer. And just as we don't have the hooks for updating the user yet, the only thing that we are going to do is, if there is an error message, we are basically going to set this as empty, because we are doing another process. So if this process retrieves a new error message, then we are going to fill up the error message again, and then we're just going to do form data dot id equals a string ID. Only this, as we don't have the hooks yet, we are not going. And in the next class, we are going to create the hooks, and we are going to do use update customer mutation. But we don't have this yet. We are going to do this in the next class. And then what we are going to do here, it is effectively the component. So it will be the layout that everyone knows that it is the component that is most external component of our application. The layout, okay, everything's good here. And then what we are going to do here is we are going to take a look with the customer exists. If the customer exists, which means that the hook already fetched the customer that we want to update, we are going to show up the form for the user. Otherwise, it will keep loading. We'll show the loading symbol that we created. So we are just going to put a logical operation here. If with customer, if it is true, if this information exists, this will happen. I will put the form here. And then if this the information is not loaded yet, I'm just going to put the loading component here that we have. Okay, everything's good. And then here it is the form. I will put that single div here. Just before this, we are going to do run lint, just for formatting this piece of code that we already have. And okay, everything's good to go. This made my code as a mess instead of formatting, but anyways, let's don't worry about this. And then now I will put just a h1 tag, call it edit customer, and then here the only thing that I need to do, it is effectively create. We are just going to copy the same thing that we have for the create component. We just need to put the form here, and then the error message that is the same. Just one thing that we need to change, that we are going to change now, which is this one. For update, we have the default value, so the only difference is that we are going to put here the customer. Only that this is the only difference that we have basically. And then there is nothing left in this, just export default update. We have already done this, and then npm run lint again, just for formatting this, and then we are going to finally run the project to see if the update component has been successfully created. So npm run dev. I got used to run npm run link, that every time that I'm going to run the project, I just link the project. But that's I'm doing this and I'm doing this because I want to, you guys that doesn't have the habit of basically linking and formatting your code every time, just for this message to get into your mind, because it's a very important good practice for people that are software developers. So okay, and now everything's okay. This page is okay. If we click here in Darth Vader, which is a single customer, we are going directly to the page that we have created to see all the information related to the Darth Vader. And then we can go to edit button to finally go to our component that we have created, and boom, we have all the information. We got the Darth Vader customer from the hooks that we have created, and then we passed this information as a default data to the new form component that we just have refactored this class. So everything's okay. We cannot edit yet because basically we don't have the hooks yet, but that's what we are going to do in the next class effectively. So thanks a lot all of you guys, and for all this class, and for it was a pleasure to teach and also learn with you guys. Just remember that this video and this course is sponsored by X-Team, the most amazing company of the world for remote jobs. And see you in the next class, which will be the class 14 for effectively and finally creating the hooks for updating a customer. And if you want to know more about the course, just grab the link down here below in the description. And if you want to access, or if you have any doubt, just comment here in this video, that will help you. It will be a pleasure to help you. So see you guys in the next class.